Hi everyone, I welcome you all to this lecture on metabolism and disposal of ammonia. These are the learning outcomes. Explain the sources, transport and disposal of ammonia. Explain the reactions of urea cycle and its regulation. Explain hyperammonemia. As you all know, amino acids, they have got a carboxyl group, amino group and a side chain group. So the slide shows a general structure of amino acid where you can find the R group, the side chain group, which differ from amino acid to amino acid. So individual amino acids, they differ from each other with respect to their side chain group. So we all have studied about 20 different amino acids present in the proteins. We call them as standard amino acids. What are the important sources of ammonia? The important sources of ammonia is the amino acid. Amino acid, when it is catabolized, when it is broken down, the amino group of the amino acid is released as ammonia, and this ammonia is later detoxified in the liver and converted into urea. To release the amino group of an amino acid, the amino acid should first undergo transamination, followed by which oxidative deamination. Let us take up these two reactions one by one. Transamination. So transamination is nothing but transfer of amino group from an amino acid to a keto acid to form a new keto acid corresponding to the original amino acid and a new amino acid corresponding to the original keto acid. Of course, so whatever I have read out, it looks little difficult to follow. So let me explain this with the help of an example. So you can find here an amino acid, alanine, and a keto acid, alpha ketoglutarate. From alanine, the amino group is transferred to alpha ketoglutarate, which leads to formation of a new amino acid corresponding to the previous keto acid and a new keto acid corresponding to the previous amino acid. You can see here the amino acid alanine gets converted into a new keto acid pyruvate, and a keto acid alpha ketoglutarate gets converted into new amino acid glutamate. So transamination reaction is catalyzed by a group of enzymes called as transaminases, or it's also called as aminotransferase. So this enzyme requires the coenzyme pyridoxal phosphate, which is abbreviated as PLP. Alpha ketoglutarate is an alpha keto acid most frequently used in transamination reaction. If you take any transamination reaction taking place in our body, most of them, more than 90% of the transamination reaction uses alpha ketoglutarate as the keto acid. One more thing you have to note here, transamination reaction during which ammonia is not released in the free form. So just the amino group of an amino acid is transferred to second substrate, that is alpha ketoglutarate, and alpha ketoglutarate gets aminated to form a new amino acid glutamate. That is why it is called as transamination, transfer of amino group and amination of the second substrate. Now, how to name the transaminases? So transaminases are named after the specific amino group donor. So in this example, alanine is the amino group donor. From alanine, amino group is transferred to alpha ketoglutarate. So that's why the enzyme is called as alanine aminotransferase. So you can observe in this transamination reaction, I have shown the arrow on both direction. So that's why transamination reaction is a reversible reaction, where you find when more alanine is present in the body and more alpha ketoglutarate is available, the reaction goes in the direction of production of pyruvate and glutamate. Alanine undergoes transamination leading to formation of pyruvate as the keto acid corresponding to alanine, and this pyruvate enters into TCA cycle. So what actually happens here? When more amino acid is there, body will not store the amino acid, but it will catabolize it. Before any amino acid gets catabolized, its amino group should be removed. Only the carbon skeleton of the amino acid will enter into catabolic pathway, the final common pathway, that is TCA cycle. So alanine gives out its amino group to alpha ketoglutarate. Now only the carbon skeleton remains, that is nothing but pyruvate, that enters into TCA cycle later in the form of acetyl CoA, gets completely oxidized to release energy. So when we have more pyruvate, when we have more glutamate available, the reaction can go in the opposite direction. You can see pyruvate gets aminated by using amino group of glutamate, and it can form alanine and alpha ketoglutarate. Alanine is an amino acid now. It is now produced from pyruvate in our body. That's why alanine is a non-essential amino acid. Similarly, as we have seen before, alpha ketoglutarate is an intermediate of TCA cycle. It can undergo amination by alanine by getting amino group from alanine, leading to formation of glutamate. So glutamate is a non-essential amino acid. This is how you find non-essential amino acids are produced in our body. So transamination reaction has got a great contribution for synthesis of non-essential amino acids. Also, this transamination reaction helps to send this carbon skeletons of the amino acids when they are available in excess to TCA cycle, which is the final common pathway, which will oxidize this carbon skeleton of amino acid to extract energy from it. So one more example we can take here. Aspartate, which undergoes transamination reaction again by using alpha ketoglutarate. And what should be the name of the enzyme here? Yes, you are right. It is aspartate amino transferase, or it is also called as AST. It's not ALT here. Here it is written ALT. It should be AST. Now, what are the functions of transamination reaction? So, amino acids are converted to their respective keto acids. So, we have seen during transamination reaction, amino acid donates its amino group to alpha keto acid and itself gets converted into alpha keto acid, that is nothing but the carbon skeleton of the amino acids. So this alpha keto acid, the carbon skeleton of the amino acid, now further gets oxidized in TCA cycle to produce energy, so which can be used later for various purposes. Also, this transamination reaction helps to synthesize non-essential amino acids. So transamination reaction has got two important functions. So amino acids which do not undergo transamination reaction are lysine and threonine. Some books they mention it only lysine, but some others they mention even lysine and threonine. You need not worry more about this. So lysine definitely it won't undergo transamination reaction, and even threonine. Now coming to deamination reaction. What do you mean by deamination reaction? Deamination. D means removal. Amino group. So deamination reaction where you find amino group of the amino acid is removed in the free form. During deamination, if there is any oxidation taking place, then it is called as oxidative deamination reaction. So amino acids are oxidized and simultaneously their amino groups are removed. That is why this type of reactions are called as oxidative deamination reaction. One of the major important oxidative deamination reaction taking place in human body, it is catalyzed by the enzyme L-glutamate dehydrogenase. So this L-glutamate dehydrogenase can oxidize glutamate and simultaneously it will deaminate this glutamate, leading to formation of free ammonia and alpha ketoglutarate. Amino group of the glutamate is released as free ammonia and the carbon skeleton of glutamate is alpha ketoglutarate. During this reaction, NAD is converted into NADH plus H plus, or sometimes it can also use NADP, which can be converted into NADPH plus H plus. This is a reversible reaction. So this reaction can be regulated by the energy status of the cell. When we have got more energy, when we have got more ATP, you find it will regulate this L-glutamate dehydrogenase. It will inhibit the action of L-glutamate dehydrogenase. When the energy status is low, when more ADP is available, you find this particular enzyme is activated so that more and more glutamate can be converted into alpha ketoglutarate and ammonia, and alpha ketoglutarate can enter into TCA cycle, can produce energy. We have seen that from an amino acid to release the ammonia in the free form, the amino acid should sequentially undergo transamination followed by oxidative deamination. So these two reactions which takes place sequentially, so both of them together we call it as trans deamination reaction. So what is this trans deamination reaction? Let us summarize this reaction. So we have seen transamination reaction, we have seen oxidative deamination reaction. They are taking place one after the other. So you find alanine and alpha ketoglutarate. Here the example is alanine. So alanine and alpha ketoglutarate undergo transamination reaction, leading to formation of pyruvate and glutamate. Now oxidative deamination reaction takes place by using this glutamate in the presence of the enzyme L-glutamate dehydrogenase. So L-glutamate dehydrogenase can act only on glutamate, not on any other amino acid. So when this L-glutamate dehydrogenase acts on glutamate, it will release ammonia in the free form. The carbon skeleton of glutamate is released as alpha ketoglutarate. Because it is an oxidation reaction, NAD is converted into NADH plus H plus because two hydrogens are removed from glutamate. You can see here sequentially transamination taking place, followed by which oxidative deamination. So one thing you can observe, I said in the previous slides, most of the transamination reaction, alpha ketoglutarate is the keto acid. I said more than 90% of the transamination reaction, alpha ketoglutarate is the keto acid. So when alpha ketoglutarate acts as a second substrate, a keto acid, during transamination reaction, it will collect the amino group from various amino acids and itself gets converted into glutamate. So that's why when the amino acids are being catabolized, you find glutamate level in the blood will increase because more and more alpha ketoglutarate is converted into glutamate. So now glutamate, the alpha amino group, is actually the alpha amino group of various amino acids. So this glutamate now undergoes oxidative deamination reaction and releases ammonia in the free form. So this ammonia later undergoes urea cycle and gets converted into urea in the liver. So to sum up this trans-deamination reaction, it is nothing but transamination reaction followed by oxidative deamination reaction, ultimately leading to release of the alpha amino group of the amino acid into free ammonia. Sometimes you find one more enzyme which can catalyze oxidative deamination reaction is L-amino acid oxidase. The amino acids present in the protein, they are all L-amino acids. This L-amino acid oxidase can also oxidize amino acids, leading to release of ammonia, and the carbon skeleton of amino acid is released as alpha keto acid. But this reaction is of little importance when compared to L-glutamate dehydrogenase. We also find in our body some reactions where ammonia is released but no oxidation is taking place. We call it as non-oxidative deamination reaction. So removal of alpha amino group of amino acid as free ammonia without oxidation of amino acid. So one example which is given here, which is catalyzed by serine dehydratase, which converts serine into pyruvate, and the alpha amino group of serine is released as ammonia. This reaction requires PLP as the coenzyme, but you won't find any oxidation of the amino acid serine. Let us now see the important sources of ammonia in human body. The most important source of ammonia is trans-deamination reaction, where you find the amino group of the amino acid is released as free ammonia by this trans-deamination reaction. In addition to this, there are many other sources for ammonia. Catabolism of purines and pyrimidines, catabolism of various nitrogen containing compounds, they also will produce ammonia. Now you find absorption of ammonia from the gut. This is the second most important source of ammonia. The urea which is produced in the liver is mainly excreted through kidney, but you find a small amount of urea is secreted in the intestine. The intestinal bacteria releases the enzyme urease, which can act on urea and forms ammonia. This ammonia can be absorbed, or even the urea which is present in the food, which can be converted into ammonia, and this ammonia can be absorbed. So the ammonia produced in the gut, which is absorbed, that forms the second most important source of ammonia to the human body. So in addition to that, you find glutaminase enzyme when it acts on glutamine, which will lead to release of ammonia. So these are the important sources of ammonia for human body. So whenever you want to list the important source for ammonia in human body, the first thing you are supposed to mention is trans-deamination reaction. Next important source is ammonia absorbed from the gut, and then all other sources. What are the fates of this ammonia which is produced in the human body? So ammonia formed in the human body can be converted into urea in the liver. So it is a detoxified form of ammonia. It's a water soluble form of ammonia, and it is excreted in the urine. Ammonia can also be used in synthesis of glutamine, a small amount of ammonia normally in our body which can be converted into glutamine after it is added to glutamate. Ammonia can be excreted in the kidney. So kidney can excrete a small amount of ammonia. So these are the three different fates of ammonia. But the important fate of ammonia is its conversion to urea by urea cycle in the liver. How ammonia is transported? This ammonia is produced in various tissues, but you find ammonia is detoxified in the liver by urea cycle. Urea cycle takes place only in liver. So how this ammonia produced in various parts of the body is transported to liver? So ammonia is transported as glutamine from central. In the liver, what happens now? Via blood, glutamine will come to liver. In the liver, the enzyme glutaminase will act on glutamine and it will release this ammonia in the free form. So glutamine gets converted into glutamate. So that is how you find ammonia is transported from central nervous system to liver and where ammonia is released. Similarly, alanine carries ammonia from muscle to liver. The pyruvate in the muscle undergoes transamination reaction, gets amino group from various amino acids. It is transported to liver where it will release the ammonia. So in the liver, ammonia is detoxified by urea cycle. So this is urea cycle which partly takes place in mitochondria and partly in the cytoplasm. First you find ammonia combines with carbon dioxide in the presence of the enzyme carbamyl phosphate synthetase 1, leading to formation of carbamyl phosphate, and this reaction requires 2 ATP, and these 2 ATPs are converted into 2 ADPs. Later you find carbamyl phosphate in the mitochondria combines with ornithine, leading to formation of citrulline. Citrulline formed exits mitochondria, it comes to cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm, it is acted upon by the enzyme argininosuccinate synthetase, which requires ATP, leading to formation of argininosuccinate. Now, argininosuccinate formed gets converted into arginine in the presence of enzyme argininosuccinate lyase. During this reaction, fumarate is released. This fumarate enters into TCA cycle, gets converted into oxaloacetate, which gets transaminated to form aspartate. This aspartate can again enter into urea cycle, which will combine with citrulline. You can see in the reaction, citrulline gets converted into argininosuccinate. So urea cycle is linked to TCA cycle. Okay, now L-arginine, which is produced, is hydrolyzed, leading to formation of urea and ornithine in the presence of enzyme arginase. Ornithine formed again enters into mitochondria and again participates in one more cycle. So that's why urea cycle is also called as ornithine cycle. So you find two reactions takes place inside the mitochondria and three reactions takes place outside the mitochondria. So urea cycle takes place both inside the mitochondria and outside the mitochondria. How this urea cycle is regulated? The fine regulation of urea cycle is with the help of N-acetyl glutamate. N-acetyl glutamate is produced from glutamate. So this N-acetyl glutamate acts as allosteric activator of carbamyl phosphate synthetase 1. If you see the urea cycle, this carbamyl phosphate synthetase 1 catalyzes the first reaction of urea cycle. When its activity is increased, formation of carbamyl phosphate also will increase and the rate of urea cycle also will increase. So you can see the allosteric regulator here is N-acetyl glutamate. So whenever glutamate level is increased, you find N-acetyl glutamate concentration also will increase, so rate of urea cycle also will increase. The second regulation is course regulation. When an individual takes high protein diet for a long time, you find it will lead to synthesis of the enzymes of urea cycle. That means the concentration activity of the enzymes of urea cycle will increase. So the rate of urea cycle also will increase. Hyperammonemia. What do you mean by hyperammonemia? Hyperammonemia. What is hyperammonemia? Blood level of ammonia is increased. We find this hyperammonemia in liver disease. When there is a fulminant liver failure, you find which occurs in case of cirrhosis of liver or maybe other conditions. So even in case of urea cycle defects, the ammonia level in the blood might increase. In fulminant liver failure, gut is sterilized. What's the reason for this? In fulminant liver failure, the blood level of ammonia is increased because liver cells are not functional, so ammonia is not detoxified, so blood level of ammonia is increased. Now, what's the need for sterilizing the gut? What do you mean by sterilization of gut? Killing all the bacteria, microorganisms present in the gut by giving certain antibiotics. So when the gut is sterilized, bacteria are killed, so the enzyme urease is not available, so production of ammonia will be less, so absorption of ammonia is less. So as I said before, absorption of ammonia from the gut is the second most important source of ammonia for the human body. So if you kill all these bacteria, production of ammonia, if it is decreased, or absolutely if there is no production of ammonia in the gut, so there is no absorption of ammonia. So the major load of ammonia on the liver can be reduced. Ammonia has got direct toxic neurotoxic effect on the central nervous system. So these are all the signs and symptoms which you can read here: tremor, omitting, slurring of speech, blurring of vision, coma. They are all most common signs and symptoms which you find in case of ammonia toxicity. So these are all the enzyme defects which you find in case of urea cycle. So first two enzymes of urea cycle, when they are defective, it will give rise to hyperammonemia. So carbamyl phosphate synthetase 1 deficiency will give rise to hyperammonemia 1. Ornithine transcarbamylase enzyme deficiency will give rise to hyperammonemia type 2. Why ammonia is toxic to the human body? So exact reason is not known, but there are different hypotheses. Why ammonia is toxic to human body? So there are different hypotheses to explain this. Ammonia reacts with alpha ketoglutarate to form glutamate. So we have seen in oxidative deamination reaction by L-glutamate dehydrogenase, in the reverse direction, alpha ketoglutarate and ammonia can combine together to form glutamate. So when the ammonia concentration increases, you find ammonia is added to alpha ketoglutarate in the presence of L-glutamate dehydrogenase, leading to formation of glutamate. So alpha ketoglutarate is an intermediate of TCA cycle. So when this alpha ketoglutarate is depleted, you find it will impair the function of tricarboxylic acid cycle or TCA cycle. When TCA cycle rates slow down, there is depletion of energy in the neurons. So depletion of energy, depletion of ATP availability in the neurons may be responsible for ammonia toxicity. The second hypothesis, it says that glutamate in the neurons is converted into glutamine when ammonia level is increased. Normally it is converted into glutamine, but when ammonia concentration is more glutamate is converted into glutamine, which is a transport form of ammonia from central nervous system to liver. So when there is depletion of glutamate, the neurotransmitter gamma aminobutyric acid GABA synthesis also will be decreased. So depletion of this inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA may be responsible for ammonia toxicity. So in today's lecture, we have seen various sources of ammonia in human body and how exactly ammonia is transported and detoxified, and later we have seen something about hyperammonemia. Thank you very much.